We are in a series called Old Words for a New Way. And today, I want to introduce you to a word, but first I want to read you just this simple passage from Philippians chapter 4, verse 9. By the way, if you are a person who likes to follow along, at the end of each row, there are some sermon outlines that are on yellow paper today, if you're a type that likes to know what's coming up. Philippians chapter 4, verse 9 says, "Whatever you have learned or received or heard me or seen in me, put into practice, and the God of peace will be with you." I love this passage for three little reasons. When the apostle says, "Whatever you have learned or received or heard from me," I love the reminder that there is a givenness to faith. There is a givenness to the tradition. That we're not making this up from scratch. We never start at square one. Faith isn't a blank slate or a new check that you just get to write whatever you want in there. There is a givenness to faith. It comes to us from someone else. It's like language, right? People don't speak language. You speak a language. And that language was given to you, right? You were taught the language. Faith is the same kind of thing. I love the reminder that there is a givenness. We have been given faith by God, and we have been given the tradition by the church that has preceded us. Second reason I love this passage is it says, whatever you've seen or heard in me, it doesn't say, believe the same way I believe, right? Or understand the things that I understand, or say the things I say. It says, put it into practice. I love that little twist, because faith is ultimately a practice. It's not an intellectual idea. It's not an abstract concept. It's not like just something you sort of conceive of mentally. Faith is a practice. If you don't do something with what you say you believe, you have to wonder if you really believe it. Faith is a practice. That's why we practice communion together. We don't talk about communion, right? That's like talking about dancing. You have to actually move your body. The practice of dancing, there's something about it that can't be described merely in words. And then the third thing I love about this passage, it says that the God of peace will be with you. Which is an interesting promise to me, because if you practice what you have been given in faith, that it is the God of peace that will guard your hearts and minds. For me, this is a great promise, because as I have grown in my understanding of faith, and as I have developed in my practice of faith, I have needed the God of peace to guard my heart and mind, because it's not easy being a person of faith in the modern world. Does anyone want to say amen to that? Okay, good. It's not just me. Good. Being a person of faith who actually practices what you say you believe, causes me sometimes anxiety. Sometimes I second guess myself. Sometimes I have great regret about ways I have mispracticed in the past, or I'm embarrassed about being overzealous at different phases of my life. So I need the presence of that God of peace, because as we practice faith, it's sort of a trial and error thing that we do in community. There are going to be times where I overdo it, and there are going to be times where I underdo it, and I'm going to need peace to cover over my regrets of the past, or times I've disappointed myself, or times I have been duplicitous and hypocritical and two-faced. I've been torn, and sometimes I double back on myself, and it causes me great anxiety and disturbance. And so to know that as I practice faith, that the God of peace will watch over my heart is an amazing promise, and I just love that. I wanted to share that with you this morning.